This is part 2 of day 8 notes. We're going to again look for greatest common factor for all three terms. There's no variable or number that divides all three of these. Again, we call this the AC grouping method. When your leading coefficient isn't a 1, it is necessary to multiply the value of A by the value of C. So 3 times 6 makes 18. I'm going to put an 18 on the left. That number goes on top of my T-chart. And I want those numbers, those pairs of numbers, to add up to make the B term. B term is actually a negative 11. We like to go in order, starting with our first pair, 1 and 18. They multiply to make 18. They add up to make 19. So we got to keep going. 2 goes in at 18 9 times. Add them up, that makes a positive 11. Okay, we have the right numbers, but they don't have the correct sign. So we're going to change both of their signs. And that should give us the negative 11. They still multiply to make 18. Two negatives multiply to make a positive. And when you add these together, they make the 11. So this is the pair that I want. Remember, the middle term, this is something different today, wasn't a negative 11x. I'm going to replace the negative 11x with a negative 2x and a negative 9x. There needs to be a plus sign in the middle of my 4 terms. I'm going to rewrite my 3 terms as 4 terms, 3x squared minus 2x plus negative 9x plus 6. So that plus sign is in between my 2 groups of terms. We're going to make pairs, and next we're going to GCF, take the greatest common factor from each group. So I want to find a GCF, and hopefully we get a match like we did in the other page. And x comes out of both. This becomes a 3x minus 2. Now, originally I thought that the GCF of this group might be a 3. But if I just use a 3, then I'm going to get a negative 3x and a positive 2, and that's not going to match. Because it starts with a negative, because this group starts with a negative, we're going to factor out a negative GCF from this group. We're going to use negative 3 on the outside. So we're going to put negative 3 on the outside. Negative divided by negative is positive. 9x divided by 3 makes 3x. Positive divided by a negative is a negative, minus 2. Look, these match. My favorite part is redoing this at the end and writing my answer. So my matching group is a 3x minus 2. What multiplies a 3x minus 2? Is it x? Is it negative 3, or is it both? Both x and negative 3 are multiplying the 3x minus 2. So our answer is the quantity x minus 3 times the quantity 3x minus 2. If you rewrite it this way, it's also the same factors. So I would accept either this one or that one. The order of the factors don't matter, but the signs and the numbers, they do matter. So either of these will work. The special note about this one, and I'm going to put a note here with a star. What the star means, if the first term in a pair is negative, you're going to factor out a negative greatest common factor. If you don't, these won't match. You'll get opposites. So if the first term in a group is negative, you want to factor out a negative GCF so you'll find the matching pair. Let's do the next one. There's no greatest common factor for 3x squared, negative 14x, and negative 5. So we're going to multiply our A times our C. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. The B value in the center is a negative 14. Let's start with negative 1 and 15. In the previous lesson, I said when your T-chart number is negative, you want to put the negative factor on the left. Let's figure out why I said that. Add these together, that makes positive 14. Okay, we have the right numbers, they have the wrong signs. So the 15 needs to be negative, and I put the negative on the left. And the negative 1 needs to be positive, and I put that number on the right. Negative 15 and 1 make negative 14. That negative 14 represents the negative 14x in the center. So I'm going to replace the negative 14x in the middle. I'm going to replace it with a negative 15x plus a 1x. So I'm going to take this and plug it in here. I'm going to rewrite my trinomial. Instead of 3 terms, I'm going to use 4 terms by splitting that middle term into 2 terms. Okay, and now I think we get the process. We're going to group these. We call this AC grouping. We multiply the A and C. Now we're going to make some groups. We're going to factor out the greatest common factor from each pair. 3x squared minus 15x. Let's see, 3 goes into both. They both have an x, so I'm going to go with 3x. 3x goes in front. X minus 5. And I'm having a hard time finding the greatest common factor, and I do have to take something out. The default factor when you can't figure one out is 1. Maybe you did figure that out. We're going to take a 1 on the outside. The only number that divides everything all of the time is a 1. So this is still going to stay in x, a minus a 5. We have the match. My favorite part, put it back together. X minus 5 is being multiplied by a 3x and a 1. A 3x and a positive 1. So this is our answer. So again, I think the note that could come here is like the default, the automatic GCF is equal to 1. You have to factor something out. Again, we're looking for a match, so we're good to go. Let's move on to the next one on the bottom of this page. There's no GCF, although we don't have one. We're still always going to look for it. What number goes on top of this T-chart? What number goes next to it? A times C is negative 60. Next to it is a positive 17. Go in order. Negative 1, negative goes on the left, 60 goes on the right. How come I want the negative on the left? Well, if that negative, let's look at the last exercise. If that negative's on the left, then it's the second number in the group of terms and not the first number of the next group. And if it were the first group if it were the first number in the next group, you would have to remember to factor out a negative GCF. It's easier to hide it in the left one than to start the next group with a negative. That's probably why I put the negative on the left. Anyway, let's get back to business. We got a 59 here. We got to keep looking. Negative 2 and 30 make 28. Negative 3 and 20 make 17. That 17 is there because we want a 17x. So we're going to replace our middle term with a negative 3x and a 20x. If I put this negative 3x on the left, it might make it easier to factor out my GCF in pairs. Plus sign has to be in the middle, 20x, and then we're going to end with a minus 4, that last term. We do have that plus sign in the middle, so good for us. We're going to factor out the GCF from each pair. 3x on the outside, 5x minus 3 divided by 3 doesn't just cancel, it becomes a 1. The x's do cancel. 4 goes into both, plus 4. And I didn't have to use that star rule where you have to factor out a negative because it starts with a positive. Okay, so the 4 goes on the outside. I have a 5x minus 1. We got the match. So 5x minus 1 is one of my binomials. The other binomial is a 3x plus 4. So we have the outside terms and the inside terms. Again, if you want to multiply these back together, it should get you back to the original answer. These are always designed to work when you find the right numbers. So I'm going to skip the check. Let's take a look at part 3 of this video.